Ladies, gentlemen, geeks of all ages, you are now entering BJ Shea's Geek Nation. Welcome.
Welcome to BJ Shea's Geek Nation. I am the Reverend Infuego. Across from me is nobody, because today is a very, very special broadcast. Gareth Von Kallenbach, whom you know from Skewed and Review, that is sknr.net, had a chance to speak with a bunch of the actors and the crew from The Boys, which is coming out very, very soon. Super excited for that, to see that on Amazon Prime. If you guys want to get a hold of us, you can do so by giving us an email, bjgeeknation@gmail.com. You can also find us at bjgeeknation.com, where you can find all of our information and social media stuff like the Twitter and the Instagram, and of course that more. Now, I want to get right on into this, because this is very, very exciting. There was a chance for Gareth to sit down and ask some questions to each of the cast members. We picked some of the cooler questions that he was able to ask, and have gone along and been able to put those out for everyone. First up is Karen Fukuhara, who plays female, and also she is with Tomer Capon, who plays Frenchie. So let's get right into that one.
It was clear in the recent episodes that there was a frustration with some communication issues between your characters. It's interesting to see that they're trying really hard to talk to one another, but they keep running into obstacles. And then he had the lettering book out, which I thought was really great, but then she got frustrated because she was trying to tell him something. And so could you discuss that a little bit, please?
I think with any form of communication, when it's not working, or if it's not successful, it's a little bit frustrating, right? You're in a different country, you don't really know how to speak the language, you have struggles. But in Kimiko's and Frenchie's world, the communication failing can be fatal, and it can lead to problems with even survival. It could be life or death. And what she's trying to communicate to Frenchie in the first few episodes is very important to her. And not being able to say what she wants to say is really frustrating for her. And it doesn't come from a place of frustrated. It's not frustrated. Kimiko's not frustrated purely at Frenchie, because she understands that it's also her own thing, her own problem, for not being able to speak. And so it's an internal frustration that happens. I mean, I've felt that in so many different parts of my own life, not about communication, but it's like, oh no, that's my fault. Like, I can't do it. I'm not good enough. And so the frustration is like, why don't you understand? But also, like, why can't I speak? So, yeah.
For me, it's from Frenchie's side. I think it's, at least for the first few episodes, the question is, why is he kind of ignoring it, kind of putting it down? What is he trying to run from? Why is he running from anything that can confront him with himself and in a deeper level? He's definitely trying to put something that his subconscious mind maybe thinks can lit a new fire he doesn't want to handle with. And going further with the season, we understand that every time that Kimiko's character is figuring something about herself and opening a new Pandora box about herself, amazingly, Frenchie gets an insight to his own trauma and his own world, and it's exciting. It's exciting. It's a beautifully written line with this season for the two of them.
Okay, so I'd like to talk to you guys about the action sequences that we've seen so far. You know, Karen, you got basically thrown through walls and all over rooftops, and then of course you had the boat scene and the whale. And so, what can you tell us about that and filming it, and perhaps what we can look forward to?
Oh my goodness, you can look forward to a ton of blood and never before seen action scenes. Some led by our very own Karl Urban. I mean, he was, when we first got the script and we got the whole boat sequence with the whale, for sure, I thought we'll have a stunt team, a professional boat wrangler. I don't know what they're called. But Karl was actually the one driving the boat the whole time. And it was so funny that the first time we rowed the boat, I think Karl was up in front, and then it was Tomer and Laz, and then me in the back. And I thought it was just going to go kind of fast, but it was full throttle. And I cannot tell you how hard it is to look like a badass superhero, yet also be really scared as, me personally, Karen. I was like, but also like I gotta work it. We have some amazing action sequences coming up. One of the scenes for Kimiko is a lot of going, season 1, we had a lot of eye gouging. Season 2, there's some like going through people. It's so funny. Everything has to be pretty precise though. So I think a lot of that, like my arm's not in the right place. Like, oh, you got to rip this off at this angle. And, there's a lot going on there. But yeah, you'll see a lot of, really cool action scenes coming up.
Up next, we've got Jack Quaid, who plays Wee Hughie, and he is with Erin Moriarty, who plays Starlite.
I was curious about what I see as divided loyalties in the character. Starlite had that situation where Homelander basically says, kill him or I'm going to kill you. And then, of course, you had mentioned your situation with Bill. And yet he seems to still have feelings for her. And it seems like you have characters who are both questioning where they fit in and what exactly is the true mission at this point.
Yeah, well, that was such a cool thing to be able to explore with Erin, is that these two characters are working together on a mission together. There was so much left unsaid in the first season, but now all cards are on the table and they have to put their feelings for each other, positive or negative, aside for now and get the job done. But that doesn't mean that the feelings aren't still there. So that was a really, I don't know, that was such an interesting thing to play around with.
Yeah, I think, I think that underlying all of the hurt and the, the violation of trust that has occurred between these two characters is you can't take away, you can't subtract those bonding and connective moments in season 1. And I think there's a reason why Annie can't shake them and has residual feelings. And there's a reason why they did fall for each other, is that even though Hughie was lying, those moments between them were very real. So when you come into season 2 and then, Annie, Starlight is put in this position by Homelander, it's just, again, it's one of those moments, sort of not dissimilar to season 1 in the boardroom with the Deep, where she is, she's on a mission. And in her mind, the most important thing is to attain that mission, to be a hero and to make the world a better place. And so in season 1, she just kind of acts incorrectly, how most people would deem it, but she's just trying to stay on track. Season 2 with Hughie, and like she is on the she's so torn in terms of whether to obey Homelander and maintain her facade so that she can stick to this mission, or hurt, potentially kill this guy who she really does love. And I think ultimately, I would like to say for both of them, they're never going to be able to. I don't think they'd ever be able to physically hurt each other. I think there's been too much of a bonding that is unshakable, but they're also two people who have a very strong sense of mission. So when they're put in situations where they're stuck in those two hard places, it's an exceptionally difficult situation to navigate.
Yeah, I think with that moment with Homelander kind of forcing your hand, like there's a little bit of acceptance from Hughie of like, if that's what she needs to do to stay safe, like that's what she's got to do.
Right.
Yeah, that was especially that moment was so interesting on the day.
Yeah.
Besides all the blood and guts artfully decorated on everybody's faces.
Now, a couple of the characters whom I thought really got some really cool stuff happening and going on in some kind of interesting ways for the characters to go were both The Deep and A-Train. And Gareth had a chance to talk with Chace Crawford and Jessie T. Usher, who play those characters.
You guys had more outspoken, I guess in some ways you could say cocky characters who have, if not hit rock bottom, seem to be facing doubt and uncertainty for the first time in their lives. And how did you guys go about preparing that? Because that had to have been quite an adjustment from how you originally portrayed the characters.
Yeah, I mean, I think just being an actor in this industry sort of prepares you for the ups and the downs of, that sort of a thing. But as far as, the cocky stuff, I just kind of knew this character right away, reading the first, when I went and read for it back before season 1 and read the script, and really was looking forward to make fun of this, kind of white privileged soul. And obviously there's some moments in there sometimes for levity and some silly scenes that ended up working out and being really funny, but it's a dark place, and he's a very, unself-aware character. And we didn't really know too much going into it, but there was a bit of a rock bottom factor, and I thought it was interesting. The Kripke, going into the sophomore season of a show is difficult, especially with season 1 being a success and being as great as it was. I just thought it was great that he leaned into sort of the character journeys and sort of. Especially for me, I'm in my own movie over there. You know what I mean? So it was fun to really be on my own path, and I loved it, man. I even had more fun on season 2, if that was possible, getting to delve into the character. So
yeah, things get pretty deep. I certainly didn't see it coming from the material that I was given in season 1. The character that I was sure that I was going to play, it got deep and emotional a lot faster than I expected it to. But, like Chace said, just being an actor in this industry, we kind of just see those ups and downs all the time, and we're able to kind of pull from that and understand, granted, this is scaled a lot higher because these guys are like the most famous people in the world, they're not just celebrities, but they're also superheroes and they're idols and they're all these things. And then they kind of just see their world crumbling. But at the same time, just being human, we see a lot of the characteristics in these characters and people around us, and we're able to just pull from those things and from real life experiences and just know what it means to feel ups and downs and just apply those moments to this wacky universe.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask about the costumes. They look fantastic on the screen, but Jessie, I got to think running in that thing is difficult, and Chace being doused with water all the time is definitely got to be difficult, especially on long shoots. So can you kind of talk about them a little bit and the pros and cons of your outfit?
Yeah, well, the number one pro, like you said, is they look great. So putting them on every day, like, on our way out of the trailer, like I feel great. I'm like, okay, cool. I look and feel like a superhero. But like you said, the functionality of it has been evolutionized throughout, the shoot. It's kind of started one way where it looked the best, and then it just didn't work as well as it needed to. And it was a matter of finding materials that, kept the same look, but maybe were lighter in weight or, more flexible or, just more comfortable, things like that. Just for me personally, because I'm a runner, like a lot of times when I'm on set, I'm either running in, I'm running out. And we just can't have stuff falling apart, or we just can't have things weighing them down. Like, it's just got to look as natural as possible. So those things, they took time. It was the most uncomfortable when I first started. There was a lot of unnecessary pieces that have kind of just been reworked. And now I'm pretty confident in it. Like going into season 3, we've been blessed to be renewed for season 3. Whenever we get there, I'm sure the suit will be as supreme as it's ever been. But that first few months was tough. You know, it was a lot heavier than it looked, and not as flexible as it could have been. But now we're looking pretty good. I like where we're at.
Yeah, we could be singing a different tune when we're having to shoot outside on locations in like the winter in Toronto. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, geez.
But the gloves for me were the funniest because like he does. We became, I don't know whose choice it was. I was kind of mine and Eric. Like he always has the gloves on, you know, like the web fingers, whether he's eating or at the grocery store or texting or whatever. So that's been pretty interesting. And I've forgotten the gloves a few times. We had a few emergency runbacks to remember the gloves, but suit's pretty good outside of sitting. Sitting's not that, you know, not that great. And, you know, I'm always wearing like those like scuba booties basically on my feet, you know. So yeah, I mean, you know, so I'm always in those, and it's effectively a onesie. So it can be pretty interesting, but you do feel something when you put it on. You do feel you really get into the character, you know, and yeah, it's funny. So mine's comfortable. I feel like Jesse's looks the most comfortable. I'm not sure if that's true, but it looks the most.
It is now because you know the material's very stretchy and you know it's lightweight, so it's breathable. Yeah. So when we're inside, it feels great, but. Yeah. We're outside and it's windy. It's cutting straight through. I'm telling you that. I bet. It's cutting straight through. Yeah. It's okay.
We've got a new character now called Stormfront, played by Aya Cash. And then also we've got Homelander, Antony Starr. Gareth was able to talk with them.
My question is for both of you is that you have, I guess you could easily say, the darkest of the characters we've seen so far. And yet there seems to be a competition and an intense rivalry brewing between the two of you. So can you talk about that a little bit, about essentially that must be quite a challenge to play characters who are so dark but yet think they're doing the right thing, but now they see themselves in another character, but maybe they don't see themselves, even though it's almost like a mirror image in some ways.
Oh, I see where you're going. You're going in the little Buddhist tangent with the reflection of self, eh? Look, I think playing a dark character there's so many pitfalls and there's so many ways you can as I said before, get mustache twirly and arch, and sometimes that's compounded by the people that you work with and how they receive you. You know, I've always thought like my take on bad guys has really got nothing to do with the person. Like if you have a bad guy walks into a room, they don't have to do anything. It's always about reaction. You could have an old lady walk in the room, and if everyone goes, then we know something about that. Tells the story about that old lady. So that, to me, is the way that you avoid the mustache twirly arch thing. But the funny thing is when you get a character, like you said, that reflects a lot of the strengths and weaknesses of your character coming in and negotiating that exchange. One is really challenging. Two is it's fun. It's, you know, I can honestly say, like, having Aya come in, and thank God she's like a lovely person, because that would be disastrous if she wasn't. But having someone like Aya come in that is such a great person and an open and available and talented collaborator, like having someone to play hardball with is crucial to make the dynamic of the relationship work. And I think in all the light and dark places that the relationship goes, well, mostly dark places that the relationship goes, I think that's a testament to our ability to be able to work together and communicate together because we like each other. Oh, wow, that got away from me. Aya, help.
Well, I think that they have a lot of similarities, but they also have some complementary things. I think Stormfront is actually not insecure in the way that Homelander is, which is interesting because they both have really big egos, which Antis said before, that's often a reflection of the insecurity. Stormfront is not insecure. Stormfront is very secure with herself. And I think that's really attractive to Homelander because it's ego that is backed by certainty in herself. And that is, I think, very intriguing to him. But it's also very confronting because it's so fragile.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. It's intriguing, but sometimes we're attracted to things that attraction doesn't necessarily mean the conventional sense of the word attraction. I can be attracted to punching people, and that's going to be a negative. Do you know what I mean? It can be a very negative attraction, and I think that is what it is because she's very challenging to him and very threatening to him. So it's a multifaceted relationship.
Now, Eric Kripke is the showrunner and the producer, and Gareth actually was able to get a little in-depth with him about a couple of different things.
Biggest challenges you had from a production standpoint, and how challenging was it introducing the new characters into the show?
There were a lot of challenging production elements. I mean, it's a big show. I mean, we had to practically build a 50-foot long whale, for instance, which took months and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But really all the gags, we have some really big stunts and some really big moves this year that really require an incredible amount of pre-planning and, so really all of it, and then, introducing the new characters, Stormfront is primarily our big new character. And so, there's just a lot of conversation about, first of all, you have to build the suit. I mean, so much of the show, it's funny of how much of this show actually just kind of comes from the suit, like our production schedule when we cast, because they take 6 months to build. So you have to cast an actor, which means you have to know what role you're creating and have a sense of who that character is and what they're doing 6 months before you normally would, because you just have to put them in the wardrobe and then you start creating that character very early. So it starts there, and then, you just sort of figure out Stormfront is a character from the books, but it's a man, and we made the character a female. And so it's just about how do you take, the core elements of the character from the comics, but also adjust it to reflect what, you want to say about the world we're living in.
So, Eric, I'm a big fan of the music that you have in the shows, and I'm curious, the challenges and how you go about selecting which artist and where they go into the various episodes.
Oh, yeah, I love that question. The music is really, really important to me. It kind of is in all my shows, actually. I really am a bbig believer in you go for some really big, noticeable needle drops, is what they're called. And you, because, you really literally put the needle down on the record. And so it's a lot of conversation with my editors. But they know my taste now. Like, they know that it better be probably in the world of classic rock, and then very rarely is it recorded after 1983. So they know at this point, like, they have their lineup of, Aerosmith or, Bad Company, or there's a lot of Billy Joel this season because Billy Joel was really important to Hughie's character. So we talked a lot about Billy Joel. But you just kind of it's a process of trial and error. You just play around with the editors and you try different songs and see what works best. But the only thing that, is a certainty is that it will be in there. whenever the studio comes after me to trim back my music budget, I always respond by, well, actually, we're doubling it because it's really, really important to get those songs. I think those songs are timeless. That's the thing I like about putting those songs in. I think they've stood the test of time, and it makes your work feel timeless because it makes it feel. It doesn't feel like you're doing a song that's hot right now, like you're doing a song that somehow feels epic, mythic. And I just think it's all totally additive.
One of the biggest actors right now, especially for kind of bad guy roles, you've seen him a lot, is Giancarlo Espositio. You've seen him on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and then also in The Mandalorian. Well, he is on the show coming up for this season, and Gareth had a chance to talk with him about his role in The Boys.
My question is around the confrontation your character had with Homelander, where you basically let him know exactly how things were. Would you say your character has a contempt for superheroes, or he sees them as a necessary part of the corporate structure?
What a great question. I believe that my character has a little bit of both. You feel that in the scene with Homelander, a little contempt for his childlike attitude and wanting to feel as if, first of all, his ego needs to be stroked, and then he needs to know that he is the most powerful, that the power is his. Now, obviously, Stan Edgar knows what his powers entail, but Stan is completely cool. No fear, no worry. Instead, he takes the course to ask him a question. What do you know about this big company of which he says, I'm the face of Vought. You ask some camel jockey out in the middle of whatever his lines are out in the desert, and they show him a picture and they're going to go, Homelander. So I immediately know what he needs. He needs stardom. He needs glory. He needs power. He needs to feel like he's that guy. Stan doesn't have time to play games. This is a show that's been created. We'll see. We'll find out, we think, by Vought. Stan is the face of Vought, but he's more than that as well. So he chooses a route. His route is, let me ask you a question, and your answer will tell me everything. Well, I read all the books, but have you read the right books? And he starts to educate him on the origins of the company, of which we still don't know quite exactly where that comes from. But that is to allow him to know and to think, oh, I don't know everything. And so in a way, he reins him in maybe slightly a paternal way with some obvious disdain for someone who is able to wield all that power, who doesn't have the sense to get who and what he's representing.
Finally, we can't have an interview about The Boys without Billy the Butcher and then Mother's Milk as well. Karl Urban and Laz Alonso were able to talk with Gareth.
Do you feel that your characters have almost had a reset in that their priorities have been, if not questioned, but adjusted? Because, as he said, they were very clearly focused, and now the family thing is being pushed, I would say, almost more of a priority than where they started out.
When we start off season 2, we're all in the dark. We don't know. First of all, we don't know where Butcher is. We don't know what we're all doing. We're almost individuals. We're no longer a team. Frenchie's kind of making money and trying to figure out how to get us passports. Hughie is off on quest, saying he's going somewhere, but he's meeting up with Starlite, discreetly, hopefully. Mother's Milk is kind of just leave me the fuck alone. And what we're missing is having that mission. We don't have a mission anymore. In season 1, we had a clear mission, and we had a clear leader, and now our leader is gone. And that's what I felt was, the biggest challenge. Firstly, shooting boy scenes without Karl just didn't feel right. It felt dark. And in that first step, in that episode where he comes down the steps, and he establishes that, he's home, in the catchphrase, I think it's going to be season 2, Daddy's home, are already all over that. It reunites us, and gives us, a clear, we have somewhere to go now, but now we have this internal family dynamic that, in season 1, Frenchie and Mother's Milk had their thing, but season 2, it's all of us. I mean, we literally are all at each other's throats and refinding who we are as a family. Even to the extent where it helps the story explain who we were 5-10 years before that. So I love the fact that family became the focal point, because through the dysfunction of our boys' family, we find out backstory on all of us in season 2.
Your characters obviously are up against superpowered individuals, but as we know, you came up with a very creative way in season 1 to take out one of them. You guys have quite an arsenal, but yet you're going up against people where bullets and bombs may not work. So how do you guys approach the physicality to your characters in terms of making them come across as literally viable threats to these heroes they're facing?
Well, I think that's, in the genius of, Eric Kripke's mind and his overall approach. His vision was he never wanted it to be like a macho mano thing, where the boys cannot physically actually take on the Supes. The Supes are in a different league. It forces them to be smarter, and to me that's really interesting. And what is, even more of a challenge is when you put in the individual character dynamics and flaws of these characters. And, some characters are unreliable, some characters are unhinged, some characters are completely independent and cannot follow directions. So you have this kind of dysfunctional group of renegade vigilantes trying to achieve this goal. And the thing that I love about it, the way that it's written, is that they're always scrambling. They're always on the back foot. They're always out of their depth. And season 2 just takes that to the whole new level. Yeah.
And what I love about, to kind of feed off of that, is what I love about The Boys is that it shows that you don't need powers to fight back.
Yeah.
And you may win and you may lose, but as long as we're united and as long as we're together, we're a formidable foe, and I think that that's what shows true bravery, is when you know that you're outgunned and you're outmanned, but you do it anyway because it's the right thing to do. And that's what I love about being on this side of our show.
Now, I know that we are just about 3 weeks away or so right now. It's getting closer to that September 4th date for The Boys. Oh, I am so excited to see this. Major thanks to all of the actors and Eric Kripke who were able to talk with Gareth. Again, follow Gareth at Skewed and Reviewed. You can find it at sknr.net. And until next time, guys, stay nerdy.